Okay, all the machines can be defined like a device which is used to convert one form of energy to another form. That is the general definition of any kind of machine we know. It is a device which converts the one form of energy to another form. Now in fluid machine, what we do, it can be a work consuming machine or it can be a work producing machine. That means two categories of fluid machines we use, and that two category is shown over this particular flow chart. You see over here I have written stored energy in fluid, then fluid machines, then mechanical energy, and you can see both sides arrows are kept between them. What does this mean? First, if we go from left to rightward, that means stored energy in the fluid, it is going to transfer to the fluid machine. Then that fluid machine will convert that motion or convert that energy to mechanical energy. So stored energy in fluid means what? Suppose if we assume the fluid like water, it is very easy example to assume the fluid like water. So the energy which is stored in that water, that is the stored energy. Now what can be the form of stored energy in a fluid, that I have written over this portion of this board. That stored energy in fluid can be segregated in two segments, that is fluid is at rest and fluid is in motion. If the fluid is at rest, then only two forms of energy are there in the fluid, that is intermolecular energy, it will always will be there. Is that fluid is in motion or is it in rest, intermolecular energy always will be there, and similarly potential energy also will be there while the fluid is at rest. It is not in motion. Potential energy, we all know that for the sake of the change of its position, the energy stored in that particular body, that is known as potential energy. Similarly, while the fluid is in motion, a part of these two energy, that means intermolecular and potential energy also will be there. Two more energy will be added. That one is kinetic energy due to the motion, and that is the pressure energy. It is better to say flow work. What does this mean, flow work? In thermodynamics, that term randomly used, and the expression of this flow work can be written like this: pressure multiplied with small amount change in specific volume. That dV is a change in specific volume. It is not the total volume, it is not the velocity, mind it. So pressure into specific volume gives you flow work. What does this mean, flow work? When a fluid is in motion, then just think about one layer of the fluid. Obviously one layer of the fluid push the neighboring layer, isn't it? Suppose this is one layer of the fluid, it is in motion from left to right, so obviously it will push the adjacent layer. Suppose this blue marker is the adjacent layer, it will push this layer to move forward, obviously, which means all the time a layer does some work on the adjacent or neighboring layer, because it is pushing the adjacent layer to move forward. So while a layer is moving forward, that means the displacement is occurring and a force is there, so obviously some work is being done. So this work, which work? The work done actually doing a layer of fluid on its adjacent or neighboring layer, that work is actually known as this flow work. This work done by a layer of fluid stream to its adjacent layer of the fluid, it is known as flow work. And that flow work can be find out if we know the pressure, that P is nothing but the pressure acting on that particular layer of the fluid, and dV It is nothing but a specific volume. So these are the kind of energy which is stored in the fluid while it is in motion. Okay, now these energies stored in the fluid, now consider while I am moving from left to right, that means that stored energy in the fluid that is going to supply to the fluid machine. So if any device or any machine gets the energy, then what will occur there? That machine, if it is a rotating machine, it will start to rotate, or if it is a reciprocating machine, then it will start to reciprocate. First try to feel the thing. It can be a rotating machine which is known as turbo machine. Basically in turbo machine, some rotor will be there and it will try to spin with respect to a fixed axis, that is known as turbo machine. Or it can be a reciprocating machine, that means a linear motion will be there, a cylinder piston arrangement will be there. Inside of that, a linear motion of the piston inside the cylinder will be carried on. Fluid machine can be both types. It can be a rotating type, it can be a reciprocating type. So is it a circular rotating type or a reciprocating type, whatever it may be, but while the energy carrying through inside the machine in a form of fluid, then that machine will starts to work. If it is a rotating device, it will start to rotate. If it is a reciprocating device, it starts to reciprocate, because lots of energy entering inside. Now consider if it is a rotating device or rotating machine, so what will happen? The rotor will start to spin, and the axis which is mounted on that rotor, it will also start to rotate. So as a result of that, output of this fluid machine, you are getting a rotating motion. If it is a reciprocating machine, then as a result of that reciprocating motion of the piston inside the cylinder, similarly that motion will be converted into a circular motion. So I just try to clear one thing. If it is a reciprocating machine or is it a rotating machine, output of that particular machine will be a rotation of the shaft. Now how you are going to utilize the rotating motion, that is your matter of concern. If you couple a pump with that particular fluid machine, then that if you connect a kind of dynamo or alternator with that particular fluid machine, then it will generate some electricity, isn't it, which actually used in power plant. Now if we connect that fluid machine in some other purpose, so it will serve your purpose, because you are getting a rotating motion at the output. Some of the common fluid machine we use, it may be a turbine, it may be a pump. So turbine, pump, or it can be a compressor. All these are basically fluid machines. Now what is happening if I consider at first turbine? What it does, turbine, there is a rotor part as well as there is some stator part. Rotor part means which will rotate, and stator part means which will not rotate, it will be remain fixed with the casing. Inside the turbine, that fluid is going to enter with high kinetic energy. It will going to hit the turbine blade. Turbine starts to rotate. The output of the turbine, you are getting a rotational motion. You are connecting a alternator with it. That means at this part of that particular mechanical energy which is coming out from the turbine, you have to connect a dynamo over this part. If you consider a turbine first, mechanical energy means there is some motion. We are getting a rotational motion out of this turbine. So just consider this turbine as fluid machine. So dynamo, due to the cutting of flux, it will generate some it will get some electrical energy. Now that electrical energy we are going to utilize. So what does this turbine do? It is actually helping us to convert the energy which is stored in the fluid, that means these energies, convert them into mechanical energy. So it is, that is turbine is actually work producing device. So it is known as prime mover. It is known as prime mover. Prime mover means a device which can move itself, actually which can produce some energy. We all know that energy cannot be produced. It only can be converted from one form to another. But turbine actually converting that energy from fluid energy to the mechanical energy. That is why it is known as prime mover. So it can move something. That is the working principle of turbine. Now go for the right to leftward arrow. That means this bottom arrows. So that portion I am removing this dynamo. I am supplying some mechanical energy to the fluid machine. Mechanical energy, it can be a rotation. Consider rotation. I am supplying the rotation to the fluid machine, and that fluid machine is converting that mechanical energy into stored energy in fluid, like these energies. So the device written pump or compressor, both of these device actually following this backward path, that means right to left. That means if you want to run a pump or compressor, I think you people are well aware of what is pump and compressor, because they are very popular device in our daily practice. Pump, everybody, we use a pump in our home to raise the water from ground level to the overhead tank. So pump, what it is doing actually, it is just raising the pressure energy of the fluid, by which that pressure will be transferred from ground level to the upper height. Otherwise we all know that water cannot move against the gravity. If we apply some excess energy to it from some external means that is pump, then that water can go up. So if you run a pump, we have to give some energy. So what I was telling, if we consider pump, so you have to supply some mechanical energy. Basically how we supply mechanical energy to pump? By applying or by connecting a motor with it. We all know a electrical motor is connected with pump. We have to switch on the motor. So motor will produce a mechanical energy. You can supply the motor mechanical energy by connecting a IC engine with the pump also. Many pumps run with the help of a IC engine also. By hook or by crook, you have to supply some mechanical energy as input to the pump or compressor. Same. Similarly, if we supply that mechanical energy to pump or compressor, then it will produce the stored energy. That means kinetic energy, pressure energy will be increased, and as a result of that, that fluid can do some work. It can be, suppose if it is a compressor, then what we do, basically that pressure is actually raised, and that compressed air or compressed gas you can use according to your need. Similarly, if you consider pump, it will pressurize the fluid and it can be sent from one place to another against the gravity. So turbine actually acting like a work producing device. It will produce some work, isn't it? And pump or compressor, both of them actually consuming some work, because you have to give some mechanical energy as input to it, then it will convert that energy, otherwise it cannot work. So if you want to run a pump or compressor, then you have to take help from any prime mover. It can be a motor, it can be a IC engine. Okay, so pump and compressor, every point of time while you are going to run them, it will consume some energy. And when you are going to run a turbine, then the turbine will basically produce some work done. So it is a work producing device, and both of them are work consuming device. Up to this, is it clear for you all, or is there any confusion? Then let me know that. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is there any confusion up to this limit? Then I will move forward.
No. No, sir.
Thank you. Then first of all, in introduction part, now we have a basic idea that what actually going to occur in this particular module. First of all, I should clarify the classification. That means how the fluid machines are classified. It is a very important part. Classification of fluid machines. So how they are classified, it is very important. Based on different parameter, they are actually classified. So first of all, I put this like basis of classification. Basis of classification, that means based on which parameter they are classified. Okay, so I should draw this line like this way. First is direction. I will use some short form, otherwise space is very limited here. Direction of energy transfer. Direction of energy transfer. Then second parameter is fluid used, and third parameter is principle of operation. Based on these three parameters, we can classify the fluid machine. Like direction of energy transfer, I can branch it like this. One is turbine, second one is pump, compressor. Similarly here fluid used, here I can put it like hydraulic turbine, hydraulic turbines, and here I can put gas turbine, then compressor, and here I can also put pump. Now in this category, if I branch it like this is rotodynamic, and this is positive displacement machines. If any word difficult to read, then tell me, I will dictate it. Positive displacement machines. Okay, now a few things should be written here. E stored to EM, EM to E stored. Similarly, here it will be liquid, here it will be gas. Dynamic motion and static action. Static action of fluid. Now it is the detailed classification. If you go through it, it will be very easy afterwards. Otherwise, fluid machine classification can be done in different way. I have chosen following a great teacher who is actually led S.K. Som. This is the basis of classification. First parameter is direction of energy transfer. That means in which direction energy is going to transfer. Here ES means stored energy. Stored energy. And what are those stored energy? Already I have written. And EM is nothing but mechanical energy. Mechanical energy. So first concentrate on this particular part, direction of energy transfer. In which direction the energy is going to transfer. If we select this left one, that is stored energy to mechanical energy. Already I have before of this slide I have told you that if energy is going to transfer from stored energy to mechanical energy, then obviously it will be turbine. Actually they use this principle. They produce some mechanical energy from stored energy. So this left side valid for turbine. Right side, while mechanical energy is being transmitted to the stored energy, then pump or compressed pump as well as compressor, two more devices can be attached over there. Basically we are not concentrating onto them, but they are also fluid machine. Fans and blowers. Fans and blowers also fluid machines. I am not considering over there because in the scope of syllabus fans and blowers they are not included and they are not so complicated like pump and compressor. But mind it, fans and blowers they are also a fluid machine. Okay, they are also a device which converting mechanical energy into stored energy in the form of kinetic energy you are getting output. Okay, now coming to this part, that is what fluid we are using. That fluid can be a liquid, it can be a gas, you all know. If we go for this left side, that is liquid is the working fluid, then the machine is known as hydraulic turbine. Hydraulic turbine means the fluid is used as liquid and generally water is used as a working fluid. Similarly pump, it is also handling the liquid as working fluid. So both of these devices handles the fluid as liquid. And here you can see gas turbine and compressor. Gas turbine is also a kind of turbine which actually use after combustion gases as a working fluid. It is a different part, it is not included in this scope of syllabus, but gas turbine is a different part of mechanical engineering. It is a different subject actually, where we can see how a turbine works on after combustion gases. So after combustion products, that is the hot gas, is used as a working fluid for gas turbine, as well as I can include over steam turbine. Steam turbine is also a part of it, while we use steam as a working fluid. Okay, steam turbine is also a part of this, not this subject, but part of mechanical engineering. Electrical engineering students also go through the steam turbine. Okay, where actually steam is the working fluid. Most of the thermal power plant they use steam turbine, and hydraulic turbine is used in hydel power plant. Hydel power plant means the power plant which is rested at some hilly region. There geographically we have some great height or altitude, and that altitude is used to work for this hydraulic turbine. But while you are considering a thermal power plant at plain land, then we all use steam turbine. Fuel is being burned, that fuel used to boil the water, so lots of steam with high enthalpy. That steam is going to feed to the turbine as a working fluid, that is known as steam turbine. So depending on the working fluid, they are segregated like this. coming to this part, principle of operation, how actually the motion is being generated. If it is a dynamic motion, then that device is known as rotodynamic machine. That means some rotation will be there. And if the static action of fluid is matter of concern, then that is known as positive displacement machine, which is actually commonly we say reciprocating devices. Like pumps are there, which actually compressors are there. Both of these devices, it can be a rotating rotodynamic machine, it can be a positive displacement machine. That means pump and compressor, both of them can be a reciprocating type, and both of them also can be a rotating type. Rotating compressor, or rather say centrifugal compressor or centrifugal pump is there. Similarly, reciprocating pump and reciprocating compressor is also there. So if the device is a reciprocating type, that is commonly said positive displacement machine, because the displacement is being considered. Displacement of what? Displacement of the system boundary. With respect to which device? With respect to piston and cylinder arrangement. That is this category. And if the work is produced due to rotating motion, then there comes into category of rotodynamic machines. Rotodynamic machines considered the turbine, compressor, pump. Similarly, positive displacement machine considered reciprocating pump, reciprocating compressor. Reciprocating turbine never be there, but pumps and compressor can be reciprocating type. This is the complete classification based on some different parameters. Now tell me, is it clear for you or not? Anybody? Clear? Then moving forward. Now just যদি কারোর কিছু ছবি টবি বা স্ক্রিনশট নেওয়া থাকে নিয়ে নেবে, না হলে সময় নষ্ট হবে। হ্যাঁ, সো নাও we are going to move that very important thing, which is the velocity diagram. Already I have given you a picture of velocity diagram. Just use that particular diagram to get the thing very clear. Whatever velocity diagram I have given you, this kind of a curved profile was there. Actually this curved profile is representing a cross section of a blade of, it can be a rotodynamic machine. Consider any pump or turbine, whatever it is. If you cut a vertical cross section, it will look like this. It can be a basically I don't have any option to show you the 3D model over here. You can search on web. You can every time you can see the profile of that, the geometry of the blade of rotodynamic machine will be a kind of aerodynamic shape. So this is a considering, this is a cross section of a rotor blade. Okay, now we are going to show you, I am going to show you that how that velocity is going to enter in that particular device. That means we are going to show you that the graphical representation of velocities, graphical representation of the velocity, basically this graphical representation is very important, which is known as velocity diagram. If we clear with this velocity diagram, then it will be very easy to solve any problem coming from this fluid machine part. Basically I am going to show you this part, this top diagram I am showing you, that is like a inlet velocity diagram. Inlet velocity diagram. What does this mean? That means the working fluid coming into the blade, and this side of this diagram is showing you outlet velocity diagram. That means after doing some work to the blade, this is the blade cross section, rotor blade cross section. After doing some work onto blade, that fluid is going out of the blade. So that is the reason why we say this is the outlet velocity diagram, this is the inlet velocity diagram. Now why these lines are coming? This line is representing the velocities of the working fluid, different velocities, and according to the magnitude of the velocity we have to scale the thing. Suppose this maximum length, if it is a magnitude of 50 meter per second I am representing, then obviously the shorter length of the line it will representing lesser velocity. It is a very simple thing. That way we can represent any parameter graphically. Just we have to incorporate a particular scaling factor. By using a scaling factor you can select, you can draw anything in terms of graphical representation. So all these lines basically they are representing some velocities. Understood? Now this is the blade. Suppose after hitting this blade by this working fluid, that is the direction of the blade. In this direction, that is the U actually representing the linear velocity or rather the tangential velocity of the blade. That means that blade tangential velocity of the blade obviously in this direction. This is the direction which I actually represent by x direction, that is the positive x direction. So U is representing, already I have given all this nomenclature to you in the form of snapshot. It is the blade velocity or rather say tangential blade velocity, tangential direction. Okay. Now from a particular nozzle that working fluid is coming in to the rotor blade, isn't it? A nozzle is particularly a device which actually increases the kinetic energy of the working fluid. So if we increase the kinetic energy of that particular working fluid which is entering in the turbine, so it will do some more work. Yes? Deep Narayan Ghosh. So representing this particular velocity as V1, I will use some subscript 1 and 2.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, आपका voice माঝে মধ্যে কেটে কেটে আসছে স্যার।
It may be a difficulty for network issue, I think. সবার জন্যই কি it is happening so?
Yes sir, মাঝে মাঝে।
But my network is showing good signal strength. Okay, if there is something not reaching you, then that you can collect from the recording. Okay. So representing this particular line which is entering in the blade, I am representing this line like a V1. 1 I am using as a subscript for inlet geometry, and I will use here 2 as a subscript to represent outlet triangle. So what is V1? V1 is the absolute velocity of the jet which is entering in the blade. Absolute velocity. Why I am considering absolute velocity? Because while it is hitting that particular blade obviously try to move, try to displace. So there is a relative velocity, because this blade is not going to fixed anymore while that jet is going to hit the turbine blade. So blade as well as this jet having some relative velocity among them, isn't it? Because both of them are moving, and I am replacing this particular blade velocity, keeping the direction same, just substituting over here. I can do it easily. Any vector can be shifted keeping its direction same, one place to another, we all know, and it is a velocity, that is a vector. So that vector can be shifted keeping the direction same from here to there very easily, and representing is by U1. This is the length I am representing by U1, that is the tangential velocity of the blade. This is moving in horizontal direction, V1 is in inclined direction, and I am just telling you that obviously if V1 and U1 both are moving, there must be some relative velocity among them, and we all know the relative velocity is nothing but the net velocity. If one vector is acting in this direction, suppose it is a vector P, and if this is the vector which is rather Q vector, then obviously the relative velocity can be represented like this. It is a relative vector, or I can say resultant vector. I can represent it by a r. These are very common concept from our childhood vector concept. Now if this V1 is directed like this direction, U1 is directed in this direction, so the resultant will be which one? This one will be the resultant. I am representing by VR1. V stands for velocity, I stands for relative. VR is representing relative velocity. You can say resultant velocity, you can say net velocity, but the relative velocity term is most commonly used here. 1 is a subscript for inlet diagram, nothing else. But VR is nothing but the relative velocity among this absolute velocity of jet and the blade velocity. Because blade velocity and jet velocity, both of them generate a resultant velocity. That is the resultant velocity VR. And obviously while V1 and U1 they are acting in the same direction, then the resultant will be subtraction value of them, isn't it? Just a childhood vector concept. While P vector and Q vector both act in same direction, then the resultant vector obviously will be P minus Q. That means the resultant vector magnitude will be smaller. You can see the length of VR, it is smaller than V1, because this value is nothing but V1 minus U1. That thing I have given in the snapshot also. This is the resultant velocity, and V1 and U1 both acting in the same direction, so obviously the resultant will be the V1 minus U1. That way you can see the length of VR is shorter. Understood? I am removing here because space is limited, so I have to write over here VR1. Now see, if the V1 is a inclined direction, so it must have one horizontal component and one vertical component. Suppose a vector is in this direction, suppose this is V vector moving in this direction, in an inclined direction, so it must have a horizontal component, it must have a vertical component. Every time if a vector is in inclined direction, so it must have two components, one horizontal, one vertical. Here also this V1 is in inclined direction, so it must have one horizontal direction, that is this one. This one is the horizontal component of V1, and this is the vertical component of V1. See, if this V1 is this one, represent here V1, this is the horizontal component and this is the vertical component. I represent this horizontal component as VW1 and I name it this vertical component as VF1. Now you can shift this VF1 from here to here also, because keeping the direction same, you can shift this VF1 over here also. Anytime a vector can be replaced keeping the direction same, one place to another. And so see, this is the VW1, this is the VF1 and this is the V1. That same kind of geometry I have placed over there. This is the V1, this is the vertical component, I name it by VF1, and this is the whole horizontal component, I name it by VW1. VF1 and VW1, both of them are horizontal component and vertical component of V1, mind it. And in terms of velocity diagram, I say Vf is the velocity of flow It is actually a axial component of velocity. It is actually a axial component. Axial component means the direction of the velocity is in the direction of the shaft of the rotor. रोटर का शाफ्ट जहां पे रहेगा उसी डायरेक्शन पे ये वेलोसिटी काम कर रहा है. That is why we say it is a velocity of flow. Actually this velocity will create a thrust on the axis of the turbine. That way the velocity of flow, this component of velocity is not so desirable for us because it will create some thrust on the bearing of the turbine. But VW is a very essential component for, which is known as, in terms of this velocity diagram, we use a term world velocity or world velocity. World velocity. Actually this component of the velocity is helping us to rotate the turbine. This is the velocity component actually we go for. But mind it is VF, it is not so desirable for us. It will create some thrust on the bearing by which the bearing will be getting weird. But this velocity, world velocity, it is a tangential component. It is a tangential component. And this tangential component actually helps to rotate the rotor. This is the direction of the VF1, VW1. This is the direction of VW1 in rightward direction. And it is helping the rotate this particular rotor. So that way VF and VW, they are the two components of absolute velocity, where VF is not so helpful for us, but it must be there. It will create some difficulty for us, but it must be there. And VW is the world velocity. It is very essential for us, and that is known as world velocity. Up to this, tell me if there is any confusion or not. Now coming to the angle, two different angles are there. One is this angle, this one, and one is this one. This angle is making between this absolute velocity of the jet with the horizontal surface. So this angle, if I name it by alpha, alpha is nothing but which angle it is representing? It is the nozzle angle. In which direction the nozzle actually set. This is the direction of the nozzle. In this direction the jet is going to enter in the rotor. Okay. Now coming to this angle, which angle is making between relative velocity with the horizontal direction? I name it by theta. This theta is nothing but the blade angle at inlet, in which direction the blade is actually curved. Similarly, now this whole inlet diagram should be copied for the outlet diagram. See, always this blade geometry or blade surface should be maintained like this, by which you can create less amount of friction, otherwise losses will be more. Okay, so if you maintain a good polish on the surface, so you can reduce the friction. So while the jet is after doing some work onto that particular rotor, it will coming out of the rotor blade. The velocity which is coming out of the rotor, this velocity I am representing by relative velocity, that is VR2. That is the relative velocity coming out of the rotor blade. Similarly, this line I am representing by V2, and this is the direction, sorry, not this direction, I revert the direction. This is the direction of U2. This is the length of U2. And see, here I have kept a larger length of VR2 comparing with V2. In case of inlet diagram, you can see VR is lesser than the length of V1, because VR is nothing but V1 minus U1. In outlet diagram, you can see that the jet velocity, this direction and blade velocity in this direction. That means jet and blade, they are in reverse direction, opposite direction. So relative velocity of them will be sum of them. That means VR2 is nothing but V2 plus U2, because V2 and U2 they are in reverse direction. Blade is rotating in this direction. That is why this VR2 length is larger than V2. Similarly, if this component is V2, two horizontal and vertical component will be there. This is the horizontal component of V2 and this is the vertical component of V2. It will be VF2 and it will be VW2. This is the length of VW2. See, VW2 direction from right to left and U2 direction from left to right. They are reverse in direction. These directions are very important, mind it beta, because they all are vectors. Similarly, VF2 and VW2 they are same, horizontal component and vertical component of the absolute velocity. Similarly, two angles are there, this one and this one. Then in the same fashion, while the VR1 is making the angle with horizontal surface, that I have explained by theta. Here VR2 making the angle with horizontal direction, I will explain a symbol phi, because theta and phi they are just like twin brothers. And V1 is making an angle with horizontal, explained by alpha. So I will use here beta. This angle I will use by beta. Alpha and beta they are also like twin brothers. So alpha and beta making the angle with absolute velocity with the horizontal direction, and theta and phi they are making the angle relative velocity with horizontal direction. If alpha is nozzle angle at inlet, obviously nozzle will be placed at inlet. So just conjugate pair of beta can be explained by jet angle outlet. It is jet angle inlet, nozzle angle means what? Jet angle inlet. Similarly, beta will be jet angle at outlet. In this angle the jet is going to out, and if theta is blade angle at inlet, then phi will be blade angle at outlet. Blade angle outlet. Just keeping the notation like that, by which you can have some kind of trick to remind or memorize the thing. Alpha and beta they are like two brothers, and theta and phi also they are like two sisters. That is the whole velocity diagram, and this velocity diagram is a general velocity diagram for any turbo machinery. It's a general form. We have to know this general form first. Then depending on the particular turbo machinery, we have to modify this diagram. Modification is a very easy one. Depending on the type of flow of the turbo machinery, this diagram will be modified. But first of all, we have to know the whole thing as a velocity diagram of any turbo machinery. Tell me, is there any confusion? Then please tell me. One question can be arised there, how these lengths can be found out. Basically, we are not going to solve any numericals using graphical method. If you are going to solve the graphical method, using graphical method, then you have to choose a particular scale, represent the velocity using that scale. That is a very time taking or time consuming process. We are going to solve every numerical using trigonometrical relationships. That means analytical solving. It will save a lot of time. See the velocity diagram carefully, watch the angle carefully, and first of all you have to know which velocity is expressed by what information. Tell me, any confusion? Then tell me. Then we are moving ahead. After having the information of velocity diagram, then we have to go for the amount of work done actually produced here. We are going to apply the momentum equation here. Okay. Firstly, the amount of force. This is the direction of x. Force or rather say net force. Net force applied by the working fluid on the vane. Vane means the blade actually. Fx is nothing but mass, just applying that momentum theorem. We all know that already we have covered momentum equation. Net force is nothing but, if it is a mass flow rate, then inside the bracket change of velocity will be there. Okay. So m dot is nothing but mass flow rate. Mass flow rate. Inside the bracket, what will come? The change in velocity. Now the question is that which velocity we should consider. Obviously we should consider the direction of velocity. Which direction? Direction along the movement of the vane. And obviously we should consider the relative velocity, because relative velocity or resultant velocity actually the velocity which is working on the blade, isn't it? Because having two different velocity v and u, the actually net velocity which is working on the vane, that is the relative velocity. So we should concentrate on relative velocity here, and direction must be in the direction of the moving blade, that means this horizontal direction. That is why I have mentioned it x. So I have to consider the x direction. Okay. So exit velocity minus inlet velocity I will consider. Consider the exit velocity, that is VR2. Now VR2 velocity in x direction. So what will be that? I can write it minus VR2 cos of phi. Check it out. Why this minus is coming? This minus is representing that VR2 is this direction. If this is the direction of VR2, then the cos component obviously will be in this direction. This is that angle actually phi. So VR2 cos phi direction will be leftward, and leftward direction we mentioned by negative sign, nothing else. Similarly, it is the final velocity, that means the outgoing velocity, minus inlet velocity should be there. Inlet velocity in terms of VR1, that is the change in velocity I am considering, and VR1 in this direction. This is the direction of VR1, and this is the angle which is theta. So this direction will be VR1 cos theta. So I should mention VR1 cos of theta. See, is it easy to understand, or tell me? So proceed with it, taking minus as common. See, VR2 after taking common, it will be like this. Now see, VR2 cos phi, from this outlet velocity diagram, VR2 cos phi, this particular part can be written U2 plus VW2, isn't it? And VR1 cos theta, from the inlet velocity diagram, it can be written VW1 minus U1 a plus sign is there in between them, and minus m dot is out of that. Now if we consider the u1 and u2, that is the tangential velocity at inlet of the blade and a tangential velocity at the outlet of the blade, if it is equal, if we consider them by u, most of the turbo machinery follow that thing. If we consider that thing, that the tangential velocity at inlet and tangential velocity at outlet, basically that u tangential velocity is expressed by pi d n by 60. If the revolution RPM obviously will be remain constant, if the diameter of inlet and the diameter at the outlet, if they are keeping same, then you can consider u1 equals to u2. And if the blade geometry is perfectly symmetrical, then that can be considered. Okay, that I will come later. So if we consider this thing, then both of these u will be cancelled each other. So I am getting fx minus m dot equals to Vw1 plus Vw2. That is the sum of two weld velocity, Vw1 plus Vw2. If we consider u are same, that is the force which is applied by the working fluid on the vane. Now obviously vane will revert back it, because we know that every action have a equal and opposite direction of force. So if these forces applied by the working fluid on the vane, then obviously vane will revert back this amount of force in reverse direction to the vane, to the working fluid. That same concept we have applied for the derivation momentum equation on the pipe bend. This is the direct force which is applied by the working fluid on the vane. So vane will just return back the same amount of force in the opposite direction. So that way I can write force on the working fluid, by the vane equals to minus fx. So it will give you m dot Vw1 plus Vw2. That is the force which is acting on the working fluid by the vane. If this is the force, then the power developed in the fluid, I can write power developed in fluid, that can be written, that is the amount of force, and that should be multiplied with the tangential velocity of the rotor. So that way it should be m dot Vw1 plus Vw2, and it should be multiplied with the tangential velocity of the rotor. So that will give you the amount of power developed in the working fluid. And this power, where it is going, that is going to transfer to the rotor. This amount of power will be transferred to the rotor. Rotor will start to rotate. Up to this, if there is any confusion, then tell me.